Are you struggling with figuring out what type of sink, what type of layout, all the fine details of knowing just the right sink for you? Well, stay tuned. I'm gonna help you with that. Hi, I'm Janine Acca with Lamont Bros Design and Construction. Today, I'm gonna break down for you how to choose the right sink. There are three types of sinks: stainless steel, cast iron enamel, and composite. Stainless steel is what I have here in front of me. Very popular. It's a workstation sink. Stainless steel speaks for itself. It is stainless steel. Cast iron is more of a molten iron. Hopefully it has infused enamel, making it a better quality cast iron, but sometimes cast iron that chips a lot or is known for chipping a lot, it has to do with the fact that it's probably a veneer over the iron. And then you have composite. Composite is made out of stone, so that could be a granite sink, a quartz sink, a fireclay sink. It's basically a stone sink. There's also a variety of layouts for each type of sink. So let's start with the single bowl. Single bowl with a drain in the center or a drain on the side. Double bowl, which is like an equal double bowl, or an unequal double bowl, which is maybe like a 40-60 high-low, and they also have full height and half height saddles. Cast iron sinks are also really nice for apron sinks and farm sinks. The reason I love that choice is when you stand up against an apron sink, your buckle or your jeans or whatever metal you might have going on your attire is actually gonna hit up against your sink. So you wanna be mindful not to get something that's gonna get scratched a lot if you like a lot of blingy buckles, let's say. So there's an undermount and there's a top mount. This is an undermount. So an undermount is basically only an option when you're fabricating a new countertop and they're basically gonna glue it to the bottom of the countertop. So it is underneath mounted. Those sinks can have a flange. So what is a flange? A flange is that metal piece at the back of the sink that has holes in it. Now, when you go to a box store like a Home Depot or a Lowe's and you buy a sink, it's almost always going to be a dual mount. So you can put it on top, drop it in, put all the peripherals in, and it works. You could also undermount it. But if you undermount it, you have to make sure that you have enough holes in the flange and that you're okay with the lineup of them. So this sink layout, for example, would require 3 holes. And if you buy a flange that only has 1 hole, there's no place for them to drill a hole for your air switch or your soap dispenser. So how do you go about choosing the one that's right for you? Well, we're gonna take into consideration a few things: cleaning, water type, use of the sink, and preparation. How do you like to clean your sink? Are you someone who needs to use bleach, or are you okay with occasionally using oil? If you have a composite sink, it really loves oil. That's what you want to clean it with. And if you have a stainless steel sink and it has these sharp corners like these workstation sinks, it is definitely going to trap a little bit more mildew and food. So this is going to be harder to keep clean in general. Let's take a moment to just talk about the reveal. So what is the reveal? The reveal is pertaining to when you undermount a sink only. And when you undermount a sink, how much of the rim of that sink is revealed is important. Why? You can get that ugly mildew buildup over time that so many people get and hate. And so how do you avoid that? The reveal should be according to what is going to reveal enough of the rim of that sink to allow it to be properly cleaned. So what you don't want is a non-existent reveal. When the counter goes over the sink edge, I would highly recommend talking to your fabricator about cutting it back to an appropriate place so that it'll be easier to clean. The other thing is the water type. If you have very hard water, like for example, if you're on a well and you have a lot of mineral buildups, that's that white ugly stuff that cakes up around your faucet in your sink, probably not a great idea to get a dark composite sink because that is really going to show up and require a lot of lubricating. The use of your sink. This is the biggest distinguisher for sink layout, right? So if you're someone who likes to bake a lot and you have these large pans and you're really tired of having to tilt them because you have a double bowl, well, then maybe you are a good candidate for a single bowl. And then if you do have a single bowl, Have the drain on the side instead of in the center. That way you can still access the disposal. Another use that is important is if you have a big family and you have a lot of huge pots, like, I don't know, some people like to fill one side up and let the pot soak, but then still have another compartment to work in. And that's an ideal candidate for an equal double bowl. So people who like to put food in their sink use their disposal a lot. Canning foods, for example, prepping, berries, defrosting meat. That's where like an equal, unequal, say a 40-60 high-low comes into play. You have a much smaller compartment for defrosting meat or accessing the disposal in a small section, but then a large primary sink to work with. If you're knee-deep in all of these decisions, then check out our Ultimate Kitchen Remodeling Guide. Continue to educate yourself and stay tuned for more expert advice.